part of a complete sentence, make sure you write your whole complete sentence next time. This is close enough, I'll take it for today, but next time you gotta redo it, you understand? Awesome. Okay.
Wait, green.
I know, this one, this marker is weird.
Huh?
This highlighter is weird. Alright, where's the... Oh, there it is, okay. Be sure to have, oh, I see your heading, okay. Be sure to have your blank space though, so I can clearly tell where it starts and where it ends. Yay. Way to do extra work.
I did extra work.
Yeah, that's alright. Yep, 6 through 8.
Oh, I did 5.
It's alright, there's nothing wrong with doing extra work.
Is that camera recording?
Mm-hmm.
So Josh and I would have left us right now?
I mean, he's not looking at you. The camera's looking at me. Take your time.
We have a quiz in it. You almost never just give us random time to study.
You're wasting your time. What you are for it. Go ahead and take out 2 pieces of paper, a pen and a pencil. Well, I guess technically just a pen. But 2 pieces of paper, go ahead and get them out. Put your homework away for right now, we'll go over it in a minute. So go ahead and get out 2 pieces of paper. Pen. Pencil makes you feel better or just want to do it out of habit. 2 pieces of paper.
Like a cover sheet?
Mm-hmm. So 1 piece of paper for your quiz, 1 piece of paper for your cover sheet. This is a reading quiz. I don't know if we've done it or not yet in this class. So be sure to have your name and date at the top and label it 1 through 5. Take it in pen, but we'll always take our quizzes in pen here. If we were grading them in class, we would grade in pencil, but we're not grading yet. Until Corona is over. Today is the 28th, Glenn. Yes. You may borrow my pen really quick. But it will count as your freebie though. Alright.
What's the time?
You can just write science quiz, or if you want to write life science quiz, I'll go back and I adjust the numbers later on. So just write science quiz, or if you want to write science reading quiz, that's fine. Text reading. Alright, number 1. Name I'll get a second, one of the 3 parts of a typical seed. Name one of the 3 parts of a typical seed. Name one of the 3 parts of a typical seed. Number 2, what is the scientific term for the fully ripened ovary of a flower? So what's the scientific term for the fully ripened ovary of a flower? Number 3, what is the term for the root of an embryo? What is the term for the root of an embryo? Just wait.
No, I have a question about this.
Just wait. Alright, number 4. So listen for this one. This is a true or false statement. So for this, just write true or just write false. Don't write T, don't write F. I've had people try to write some weird, funky, like halfway in between letters. So you write the full word true or the full word false for it. Alright, A monocot has 1 cotyledon. True or false? A monocot has 1 cotyledon. And then number 5, mechanical dispersal is whenever the flower is using animals or people or something to move its seeds. Mechanical dispersal is whenever the flower is using an animal or a person or something to move the seeds. True or false? Mechanical dispersal. Alright, this is the first time we've done this type of quiz. I'll take the question, Jaden.
Are you counting on spelling?
For the reading quizzes, no, because we haven't gone over the term. So do your best to make sure I can tell what you mean. Don't write it and then say, oh, Miss Morse, I meant this. No, if I can't tell, I'm marking it wrong. Okay.
What was 1 and 3?
Alright, number one, this is the first time we've done this. I don't mind going back over it, but make sure you're paying attention as you go through it. Number one, name one of the 3 parts of a typical seed. I don't care which one, just pick one. Alright, and then number 3, what is the scientific term for the fully ripened ovary of a flower?
That was 3?
That was, oh, I'm sorry, that was 2. Number 3 is, what is the term for the root of an embryo? Alright, Glenn, did you have a question still, or is that it? Okay, David.
2?
Number 2 is, what is the scientific term for the fully ripened ovary of a flower?
Oh.
I said the wrong question for her just now.
I thought it was
Alright, anyone need anything else repeated? Alright, go ahead and hand it to me as I go by. Now, we can't go over the answers right now, but since this was over your homework, whenever we're going over the homework, you might notice, hey, wait a minute, some of these questions sound really familiar. And that's one of the reasons why you should pay attention to your homework in particular. And you should also make sure you're looking at any important bold or italicized terms in the section as well. So let's go ahead and let's go over it. So you had 6 through 8 on page 40, sorry. You had 6 through 8 on page 41, and then the thought provoker. So let's go ahead and let's go over it. Alright, number 6. What is the scientific definition of a fruit? Alright, Lana.
Fruit is the ripened ovary of a flower that is edible.
Good job. Number 7. What is the term for the distributing of seeds after they are mature? Alright, Jaden.
Distributing of seed is dispersal.
Good job. Number 8. Differentiate between mechanical dispersal and agent dispersal. Danielle.
Mechanical dispersal is when the ripened fruit bursts open and scatters seeds. Agent dispersal is when fruits will grow. That's what I saw in the book. On the last.
Alright, that's kind of it. Alright, Edie?
Really on agent?
Yeah, just agent.
Agent dispersal is birds or animals distributing the seeds.
Yeah, so basically the plant is using something to move the seeds along. That's agent dispersal. And then thought provoker. Why would a monocot take longer to germinate than a dicot? Glenn. I just couldn't hear you. Gonna say it loud. For Texas nutrients? Okay, you have the right idea that the monocot absorbed its food stored in the endosperm into the cotyledons during germination. So you're right that it has to take the food from the cotyledons as it's germinating. Alright, anyone have any questions about that? Yes, Jen?
No, I didn't mean to do that.
Alright, you can go ahead and put that away and take out a piece of paper so that way you can write down terms and definitions you don't know. Now, we introduced a lot of these yesterday or the day before because of your test coming up. So that's part, well, the test that just happened. So that's because, that's one reason why we're going over these so well. And also, you need to make sure you're staying on top of them. As a side note, what is due next Wednesday? Glenn? Yeah, so make sure you have your topic picked out. You're going to bring me a 3x5 card with your name on it so I know who you are. And then write, like, number 1, what your top choice is, number 2, what your second choice is, and then number 3, what your third choice is. So make sure you have 3 choices just in case everyone wants to do acid-base reactions. Alright, we're going to do the poem game because we have to go over the parts of the flower. So first person raise your hand just to answer the question. Alright, what is just the name for the female parts of the flower? Go. Okay, that was Danielle.
Wait, me?
I'm so sorry. Jaden, but yes.
You pointed me and said it.
I know, the wrong name came out.
Pistula.
What?
Pistula.
Pistula?
No, I mean, not pistula. Well, stigma or whatever is,
You can't say stigma.
no, it's
Come says, no, no.
it's like the stamen, pistil, and the ovary.
Well, what's the name for it? The statement's not right, that's what I know. No.
Pistol.
Pistol, just pistol.
What?
Just pistol. Write it down to help you to remember. A pistillate flower is one that only has the female part, so that's where you think of the term. It's okay. Alright, what do you call the top part of the pistil then? Go. Okay, that was on. That's stigma.
Wait, I got you.
Nothing. You just say stigma.
Don't we get points?
Yeah, subtract your points. But like, there's no numbers to pick or anything. What do you call the part that holds up the stigma? Go. That was good movement, Evie. It's just Scott got it first. Okay. Style. What do you call the bottom portion down here of the pistil? Go. Sorry, you just gotta speak faster. Okay, good. Ovary. Alright, what do you call the male portion of the flower? Go. Okay, that was Danielle.
Stamen?
That's stamen. What do you call the part that actually makes the pollen? Go. Evie.
Anther.
That's anther. Alright, what do you call the portion that holds up the anther? It's like you're waving.
Oh my goodness, you, every time you go to talk, I'm like razor in my hand.
I know. Sometimes I just breathe when I see everybody's hands go up. It's really funny. Go. Okay, that was on it.
Filament?
Filament.
How?
Alright, what do you call the showy portion of the flower? This is the part we notice. This is typically why you give flowers to your mom, or your dad might buy flowers for your mom. Go. That was easy.
Petal.
Those are the petals. What do you call the little bit? They are typically green, but not all the time. But they help protect the flower as it's growing. Go. That was Jake.
Sepal.
What?
Sepal.
Sepal. What do you call the bottom portion of the? Yes. What do you call the bottom portion of the flower that helps hold up all the flower parts? So what do you call this base down here? Go. Stop. Receptacle. Okay, we've gone over all the. Okay, well, it's all the major parts for the flower. What do you call the type of ovary if it's above all the other flower parts? Go. I think that was halo. Superior. Good job. What do you call a flower that has just the male flower parts? What do you call that? Go. Bless you. Oh, Mom.
Oh, stamen?
Staminate or staminate, that's how you both said it. But yeah, staminate. So, you okay, Glenn? So, make a note for that. Oh, who was the guy, the botanist, that did a lot of work with studying flowers and studying plants? Good. That was suspiciously fascinating. We'll say it was close. What's the answer?
Sprinkle?
Good job. Kristen Sprinkle.
I thought I said sprinkles.
Yeah, not sprinkles, sprinkles. It's hard. That does sound really close.
Sprinkles with an S.
Alright, what do you call the transfer of pollen from the anther to the stigma? It might be the same flower, it might be a different flower. Go. Now what's the yellow?
Germination?
What?
Germination?
Not germination.
Pollination.
Pollination. Pollination. Transfer of pollen from one anther to the stigma. What do you call the uniting of the sperm cell and the egg cell together? What do you call that process? Go. Glenn. Nope, it is not. You do the next one.
Fertilizer.
That's fertilization. Germination we're gonna talk about later. That's whenever the flower starts to grow. So, pollination, transfer of pollen. Fertilization is whenever you have that uniting of them. What do you call it whenever the flower's own pollen lands on its own stigma? What type of pollination is that? Cross-pollination or self-fertilization? Sorry, self-pollination. Go. I can't hear your tongue. Self-pollination. Give an example of a pollinator. There's a whole lot. Go. Line. A bee. You could have said bees, wasps, moths, butterflies, hummingbirds. There's a lot of them. Basically anything that drinks the nectar. Alright, what do you call the male reproductive cell on the inside of the pollen grain? This contains the genetic information. So this is the male one. Go. Okay, I think that was Hayden.
Sperm cell.
Sperm cell. What do you call the female reproductive cell? This is on the inside of the ovule and the ovary. Go. Okay, that was easy. That's the egg cell. What do you call the fertilized egg and sperm cell together? What do you call the baby plant? Okay, it's a seed, but what do we call the baby plant? Go. Okay. Give me out.
Oh, me?
Yep.
Embryo.
Embryo. Yep, that's correct.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, there are three, we loosely talked about it, but then you also had to read about it as well. So we'll kind of count it as review, but as we're going over it, make note that you want to pay attention to your bold terms as well. Name one of the three parts of a seed. We talked through this yesterday, but then you also had to read about it. But we talked through it really fast, we're leaving the hour. Good. Ooh, good, everyone moved at least. Okay. Seed coat, so seed coat, embryo, or endosperm. Any of those work. Which part, the radical or the plumule, develops into the root system? You get a 50 shot of guessing this correct. Go. Radical.
Yes, I got radical. Sorry.
Alright, so I think this is as far as we got. Oh, I forgot. Alright, so what grows down from the pollen grain at the stigma to the ovary of the flower? So that way it allows the sperm cell to get down there. What do we call that long passageway? Go. Alright, Jade.
Pollen tube.
Pollen tube is correct. Okay, now I believe that's everything. Alright, who has.
Few more, please.
It was
Review.
Wait.
Ones that we did a while ago.
What?
Something.
No, we might play again at the end of the hour.
Alright.
I have videos to show you, so it's like I'm gonna have to. Okay.
What is the baby embryo called or something?
Baby plant. So another name for a seed, embryo. Well, a seed is made up of three parts. So the part that contains the genetic information from the parent, that's the embryo.
No, I mean like the one on the quiz that said something.
Might not take you guess. I'll tell you later. Or and whenever we explain it in class, listen, and so maybe your answer will get it. Maybe your question will get answered whenever I explain it again. Alright, you can go ahead and put that away though, and get it out of your textbook, but who had 5 points or more? Alright, don't forget your Katie at 5. Alright, look over on page 38. Page 38, let's go. Where we left off last class period. Talking about the 3 different parts of seed. Alright, so we're talking about the purpose of flowers. Now remember, what is the primary purpose of flowers? I could have asked this as a question. Alright, Hayden.
To make air for us.
For the flowers?
Well, if they do something with the air,
Okay, plants do something with the air.
Plants.
What's the primary purpose of flowers specifically?
to make fruit, to make other plants things.
Alright, they're making fruit, but why are they making fruit?
To make other plants.
What's that process called whenever they're trying to make future offspring?
Fertilization, germination, self-nullification, pollination,
You're like,
reproduction.
there you go, reproduction. So remember, that's the primary purpose of the plant needs to make seeds or make babies for itself, so that way the plant will survive. Because what happens if it doesn't make the seeds? It'll die and it'll go extinct. So the flower's primary purpose is to get pollinated, so it can get fertilized, so it can make embryos or make the baby plants. Alright, so seed growth on page 38. So each seed is a powerful growth package with 3 main parts. So an embryo, an endosperm, and a seed coat. So those are the 3 parts of a seed. Embryo, endosperm, seed coat. Of an embryo, there are also 3 smaller parts. So the plumule develops into the shoot system or the stem and the leaves. So basically if it's above the ground, it is the plumule part of it. The radical, that's going to develop into the root system of the plant. So that's the radical. Cotyledons is another version of stored food. So make a note of what a cotyledon is. Cotyledons are structures designed for food absorption and storage. They get their food from the endosperm. Now remember, we talked about this yesterday. Whenever you have a sperm in a pollen grain, how many sperms does it turn into whenever it goes down the pollen tube, or right before it goes down? Alright, 2. So one of them unites with the egg cell and becomes the baby plant. The other one makes the endosperm. So that's where this comes from. The embryo is the baby plant itself. So the seed coat protects it, and the endosperm is the food that it needs. And so the embryo is the actual baby plant. This is the actual part that contains the genetic information or the DNA telling the plant how to grow and what to do and what fruit to make. This is the part that is the baby plant of the seed. Now we say seed as like the whole idea of a baby plant, but this is the part that has the genetic information for it. Alright.
Even though you're already an embryo. Embryo.
I'll fix it later. Thank you for telling me. Embryo, I'll fix it. Alright, now keep in mind, why does a seed need the seed coat, the endosperm, and the embryo? Why does it need all those three things there? Alright, Jaden.
The seed coat protects the seed. The embryo is the genetic part of the seed, and the endosperm, right?
Hmm?
And the endosperm protects the seed while it's growing in the mother thing. In the main, like in the whole entire flower, the endosperm like protects it in the flower.
This is where the stored food is. Because think of it this way. Does the seed, whenever it starts to germinate or starts to grow, is it still attached to the mommy plant?
Yes. No.
No, it's not. Now, whenever you were a baby, you grew in your mom's womb, or we would say your mom's stomach whenever you were little, because that's technically not right. So you were growing in your mom's womb. You were getting all of your nutrients and your oxygen and everything that you needed from your mom. Your mom was basically giving it to you as you grew. The baby plant, the embryo, can't do that. It's not attached to mommy plant anymore. So it has to have all its supplies to get going once it's already left the mom. So kind of how like whenever you have an egg, like a chicken egg, the yolk is the part that the baby chicken is actually using to grow on the inside. There's a spot called a germinal spot on the inside of an egg. That spot is where the little baby chicken is actually growing. Now, how many of you have raised chickens before from like an egg? Okay, a couple of you. So you've gone through the whole hatching process. You know it takes about 21 days once the chicken lays the egg for the baby chicken on the inside to grow and hatch. So in those 21 days, it's not attached to mommy chicken. It's not like a mammal where it grows on the inside. So the chicken has to have all of its supplies to grow already on the inside of the egg with it. That's how come it has the white of the egg and the yolk part. That's to help it grow. So this is kind of like the same idea. So you can think of it as seed. It's kind of like an egg for plants. A little bit different though. But this is the living part. The endosperm is the food that it's going to eat whenever it starts to grow, and the seed coat helps protect it, kind of like the shell of an egg. Alright, so does that answer your question, all of it now?
I think so.
Okay.
Like, if you cracked open the chicken egg, would it die?
If the baby wasn't done growing before that 21 days, yes, baby chicken would die. Now, if you waited until like day 20 or 21, it might be okay. But if you crack it open on like day 5, you have a mess, is what you have at that point.
What does it look?
It looks gross. It's got it. Okay.
No chicken nuggies?
No, no chicken nuggets. Alright, is it a serious question?
Has to do with eggs.
Is it a serious question? I don't have a whole lot of time.
Then no.
Okay, thank you, and then tell me after class. Alright, so to make a note, embryo is the genetic information or the actual baby of the seed. Endosperm is where it gets its energy or its food from. Seed coat is what protects it. Now sometimes they will take the endosperm and store it in the cotyledon. We're going to talk more about the cotyledons in just a second. The cotyledons, this is the structure designed for food absorption. So your books are talking about a monocot versus a dicot. A monocot has how many cotyledons? Anyone just notice from reading? Or you might can think, monocot. Ooh, I know, I'm figuring this out. Alright. 1. Dicot has how many then, Jaden? 2. So you might know already that mono typically means 1. Di typically means 2. So monocot, 1 cotyledon. Dicot, 2 cotyledons. So that's at least nice, and that's at least an easy way to help yourself and to remember. You don't have to know the different parts for it. Your book's just pointing it out for you. This is a monocot, so it has 1 cotyledon. It has the seed coat on the outside. On the inside, it has this whole part up here is the embryo. Now it still has the endosperm, but it also has the cotyledon, it has the plumule and the radicle, and so all of this is the baby plant or the embryo on the inside of it. So this one only has 1 cotyledon, that's labeled right here for you. This is the only cotyledon on the inside of it. In a dicot, you have the plumule and the radicle, but all of this is part of the cotyledon. So technically it has two of them. Now in dicots, they typically take the endosperm and they absorb it already as part of the cotyledon. So all of it is the embryo in a dicot. So just make a note that a monocot and a dicot. This one has two cotyledons with the dicot. This one has one dicot. This one has one cotyledon. So also come for these, it typically takes them longer because they have to convert the endosperm into the cotyledon so that they can use it to actually grow. Okay.
So the corn seed is just like whenever we're scooping up corn on a spoon. Sometimes I'll squeeze the bottom of it and the little seed thingy will come out. Is that the embryo?
That you're talking about the little like dot down here?
No, I don't know. I squeeze it and like something just goes whoop and like shoots out of it.
You're probably getting this little knob at the bottom is probably what you're shooting. I mean, again,
And
unless
it's
you
hollow in it.
show me like what you're looking at with your corn. But it sounds like it's this little part right here. This is the part that hooks the kernel to like the corn husk. So typically it stays there on the corn husk and it'll fall off later on. Whenever you're eating green corn with your spoon, typically they pulled all of the corn kernels off of it. So it might still have this little spot. Again, without me seeing it, I don't know. It could be the embryo, but I don't know based on what you're describing. Alright, just making up monocot versus dicot. Alright, anyone have any questions about these before we move on? Alright, yes.
What does the plumule do?
Ooh, that's a good question. Remember, there's the there's the plumule and the radicle. So the radicle develops into what? For the parts of the plant.
I know the fruit. I was thinking at diagram.
It's an ugly plant. Alright, so one part develops into the shoot system, one part develops into the root system. Which one?
So the radical goes down.
Does it? Yeah, so the radical makes the roots, so you can think of it as R, so radical and roots. So, if the radical makes the roots, what does the plumule make then? It's what? Yeah, so basically it's everything else it's everything else above the ground. So we call it the shoot system or the shoots because it's the stem plus the leaves. Flowers come later whenever the plant is trying to make its seeds at that point. But typically it'll have the stem and all of its leaves and then branches depending on how large it's going to be. Alright, anyone have any questions though about this? That was a good question though, good review. Okay.
It's not about this, but it's about something you're having a
Is it related to science class?
It's related to your history class.
Not right now then, wait, I gotta go. We gotta watch videos, that's what we're trying to move. Alright, so your book points out that we eat a lot of seeds for food in a lot of cases. A lot of the embryos, they have the starch on the end, so that's one reason why your parents probably give you corn or beans or other things, because there's a lot of good nutrients on the inside of it. So, and God told us to eat plants. This is one of the reasons why, is because they have a lot of nutrients on the inside. Now remember, do plants make their own food? Yeah, do you remember the process, Glenn? Photosynthesis. So God designed it that way they can make their own food, and then we can go and eat the plant to get the nutrients that they make. So just make a note of them. Make a note that we get starch from plants with the seeds like this. This is where we mainly get starch. Anyone know what other food you can eat to get starch? All right. Wheat. So a lot of like breads, so pastas, bread, anything that typically you can use as a carbohydrate typically is made of starch as well. Okay.
Like cornbread?
Cornbread.
Gatorade.
You say Gatorade? I don't. You're thinking of electrolytes. They have electrolytes in Gatorade. I don't know about carbohydrates. Maybe in some weird Gatorade, but I don't know if I've seen that. Okay.
It's not referring to like what we can get starch out of, but can I stand up? No, that's
Let's get in the back of the room. Make your book here. Alright, so who wants to read the brain bite at the top of the page?
Oh,
Okay, Hayden.
The largest seed is the Côte d'Ivoire or double coconut palm. It is 45 centimeters, 18 inches long, has a 140 centimeter, 56 inch circumference, and can weigh over 30 kilograms, 66 pounds.
Good job. So this is a very large, you don't have to know that this one is the largest seed, but just pointing out that, hey, this seed weighs over 66 pounds in some cases. That's a very heavy seed. So that's part of the reason your book's pointing out that this one is the largest. Alright, who wants to read the verse in the middle of the page?
I do.
Alright, Lana.
God said, behold, I have given you every bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree and the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. You shall be for me, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given everything according to this.
Good job. Alright, let's go ahead and let's look at fruit. Now, sometimes this confuses students because we use the word in the grocery store, fruit, very loosely to refer to specific types of food. Technically, a fruit is a fully ripened ovary whenever you're talking about science. So make a note of that. Whenever the ovary is fully ripened, we call it a fruit. The fruit is a ripened ovary of a flower, whether it is edible or not. So typically, we call things like an orange, you would say, oh, that's a fruit. Strawberries, that's a fruit. Apples, that's a fruit. Bananas, that's a fruit. Tomatoes,
That's a vegetable.
it is not.
It's a
It is-
fruit.
It is a fruit for science. Now, I know your parents, and you probably called it a vegetable. Technically, since the fully ripened portion of the ovary is the red tomato part, that is a fruit. So if you're asked on a quiz or test whether or not a tomato is a fruit, it's a fruit. So make a note of that. Now, keep in mind, is an acorn a fruit then?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Now, that does not mean you should go around eating acorns just because they are a type of fruit. My cousin, wait, we gotta keep going. My cousins and I, because we were stupid, growing up, we basically wanted to see how many acorns we could eat. Don't try that. That's a bad idea. My cousin won because he ate 20 and then he threw up. So, don't do that. But this is the idea of that's still a type of fruit because it's a fully ripened ovary. So just make a note. Fully ripened ovary is called a fruit in science, whether or not you can eat it. So just make a note that typically at grocery stores we call tomatoes vegetables, but keep in mind for science, because it's a fully ripened ovary, it is a fruit typically. So make sure you are being careful of that. Also as well, things like string beans are also considered fruits according to science because they're the fully ripened ovary. Cucumbers, fully ripened ovary. So they are a type of fruit. I know it feels weird, but I know for science. Okay, you have to stand still. You have to stand in the back. That's part of the reason as to how come your book's giving you a technical definition. I know it feels weird, but just make it up. For science, it is a fruit. Alright, anyone have any questions about the fruit before we move on? Alright.
The vegetable.
They're not. So make sure you write your quiz
So
and
every
test.
vegetable we eat is a fruit.
Nope. Okay. A vegetable is basically anything that is not part of the fully ripened ovary. So celery is the stalk of the plant technically, and so you're basically eating the plant stem. That's the typical piece of the celery that you typically eat. That's not a fruit because it's not part of the fully ripened ovary. Potatoes, those come more from those are under the ground. They're more of the root system, so they're not the fully ripened ovary. So they're good, but they're not fruit. So that's part of the reason why scientists get particular and they want to say, hey, the fully ripened ovary, that's the fruit portion. Now keep in mind, why are fruits typically sweet then? Why do we associate them with being sweet? Alright.
It's a part of a flower and flowers are sweet.
Okay, but why do you think that they're sweet?
Is nectar?
Okay, nope, not the nectar anymore.
Then I got it.
Okay?
God made it.
Okay, yes, but why did God make a lot of the fruit to taste sweet? Alright.
Most flowers break down sugar.
You're right in that regard, partly for it, but there's another reason. Okay.
Because it makes the flower sweet, it makes the bees want to pollinate it and make more.
The bees are going to pollinate the fruit?
No!
Okay,
No!
so why
It's
is fruit
sweet? Because
sweet?
the flower is, everything's sweet in it, so the bee will come to the flower and pollinate it and get baby fruit and we can eat it.
Okay, you're thinking right with the animals. Now keep in mind, how many of you like to eat strawberries or blackberries or apples or something like that because you like the sweetness of them? Animals like it too. So if an animal tastes the fruit and it wants to eat it, now you might think, but it's eating it. A lot of cases, the seed coat protects the baby plant, and the baby plant can survive the digestive system of the animal. So whenever the animal goes to the bathroom later on, the seeds are now in a new area to grow. So I know that's grow. But that's the reason why. All right, settle down. That's the reason why a lot of cases these fruits are designed to taste good, a lot of cases to taste sweet, so that way birds will eat them, other animals will eat them, so that way it'll survive the digestive system, but then it gets moved to a new area, and you're right there, it has instant fertilizer with it as well. But okay, but that's the reason why a lot of them taste good. So not every single fruit though relies on animals to move it. So like a lot of the beans, a lot of them are mechanical dispersal where they basically explode and throw their seeds, so they don't have to taste sweet in that regard. That's the reason why a seed is a fully ripened ovary, not just does it taste sweet or not. So I know it feels a little bit weird. That's the reason why for science we refer to it to fully ripened ovary, because it's the mechanism typically to get the seeds to be moved around. Because you can't have the seeds fall right where the parent is, there's not typically enough room there. Okay.
What happens if the bird eats it and then does it on a human?
Then I guess the seed is doomed. It probably, unless the human knocks it off onto the ground, then the seed is not going to grow. Alright, let's look at the fruit fertilization, fruit observation at the top of the page. Who wants to read that one really quick? Alright, Jaden.
Find a fruit or newly fertilized flower on a plant near your home. Observe it frequently as it ripens. Describe its appearance in your notebook. Include color sketches or photographs with your description.
Alright, you don't have to do that, but if you want to, but if you notice that there's flowers on a plant near your house, watch it. In a lot of cases, you'll see the flowers start to die, and then you'll see typically the seed pod or the fruit come off on where the flower was, because since the flower has the stigma and style and ovary, it'll make its seeds from that, if it's a type of pistillate flower. So your book is pointing out that, hey, if you want to see this in action, just look around your home. Alright, fruit dispersal at the top of page 40. We don't have time to go over the science investigations. If you want to do that at home, it's really cool. Do it at home. Be careful though, because iodine will dye your fingers. So just be very careful if you're going to do it. Iodine, the chemical you use for it, if you get it on your skin, it's like a brownish color. So it'll basically look like you got mud like in your hand. So it'll go away after a couple of days, but just be careful. Alright, so your book points out that there are two different types of ways of spreading out or fruit dispersal. So spreading out of the seed. So if the seeds were not spread over a large area, they would be stunted from competition with each other. You can't all the seeds go in one area, because all of those baby plants, the embryos, are all going to start trying to grow in one area, and there's not enough room for them. So God designed so there are two ways to spread out the seeds. The first one is, your book talks about, is mechanical, and then the other one is agent. These are two different types of dispersal or spreading of the seeds. Mechanical is basically the seed explodes or has some way to shoot out its own seeds in the area. So mechanical occurs whenever the ripened fruit bursts open and scatters its seeds some distance from the plant. We're going to watch a video over this because it's fun.
Yay!
Alright, agent dispersal is whenever it uses something. It may use animals, it may use birds, it may use people, it may use wind, it may use water, it may use something to move it along. So this is a type of agent dispersal. Does anyone know what type of seeds these are? Just a side note. Okay.
Maple?
Yeah, these are maple seeds. Did you know what we call these type of seeds? You may have learned this in elementary. This is way back there though. Okay, Jaden?
Flying seeds.
So there's a name for flying seeds. Okay, Jaden, you want to guess?
Key seed, like a key, like a key seed.
Nope. Nope, that's a good guess. They do look like wing nuts, so I'll give you that. They do have like the two little blades for it. We call these samarus types of seeds whenever it has the little wings. Not quite samarus. So it has those wings on it. Now, how many of you have seen these fall before? Alright, how would you describe it, Danielle?
So they just like fall all of a sudden off of a tree and they just go like that. All
Yeah,
the way
they
down.
spin as they fall because these two little blades basically act like a helicopter to help it fall and not just go straight down. So it helps it kind of float. In some cases, the wind will help pull it and move it along. So that's an example of an agent dispersal. So it could be people, could be animals, could be birds, could be water, could be wind. Basically, if the plant is using something to move it, it is an agent dispersal. It's using something. Mechanical means it's using itself. It's going to explode and throw its own seeds around. Alright, let's look at the top of the page really quick with the brain bite with this one. Alright, someone who hasn't had a turn yet to read. Wait, I know you better turn. Alright, Scott.
As of 2015, West Florida for 20 1,194 grams, 2,124 pounds. see it go would have way less than my man.
You're just finding out world's largest pumpkin is, it's 2,624 pounds. That's pretty large, so that's why it's the largest one. But you're both pointing out that it would have grown from a seed that's less than 1 gram. So you have all the information on the inside to start growing, and then the plant can grow really, really large and then produce really large fruit. Alright, okay, we're gonna look at the fruit finder in a little bit. Is it a quick question? Because videos, I gotta have
Just a
time.
quick question.
Okay.
If that pumpkin was hollowed out and all the goop was taken out of it, do you think I'd be able to fit in it?
See how large
Small
it
one
was.
that weighing a lot.
Recorded. It doesn't say how large. I would assume so. If it's 2,624 pounds, I'm assuming so. But it doesn't say like how big around it was. Just says how much it weighs. So I'm assuming if it weighs that much, then yes. But I don't know. It doesn't say how big around it was. But I'm assuming you could. Okay.
Are the things on the inside of the pumpkin like the seeds?
How many of you have carved pumpkins before? Okay, good. A lot of you. Typically, we do this around October because of a certain holiday in October. But that's part of the reason it's not coming typically. You do it then. Now, if you ever scooped out the inside, you know there's a lot of nastiness. But then there's also all the seeds on the inside of it. Jaden, we have to warn you again. Some reason why you have to scoop it all out. Now keep in mind, if it has the seeds on the inside, it is, so again, the pumpkin is a giant fruit basically. Now typically, whenever you're carving it, you're not gonna eat the fruit, but you're gonna typically decorate it at that point. But you can make pumpkin pie, like for Thanksgiving, you can eat a pumpkin then as well. Alright, no talking during the video, because I have a bunch of them, and I wanna try to get through as many of them as possible. You may get the light, Hayden, and the door. Josh, I'm sorry, because of the light of the screen, the videos don't show up well whenever I record them. I'm sorry, I tried, but they don't show up. I found these on YouTube, so if you want to go find them, you can, but ask your mom's permission before you just go on YouTube. So I tried. Hayden?
Flowers also use the wind to transport their seeds, and few do it more successfully than dandelions. As their petals fall, their flower heads over a period of 1 or 2 weeks are transformed into wonderfully intricate globes, each a precise array of 100 or so seeds, all awaiting the wind. Their seeds are much heftier than the spores of fungi. For them to fly, special apparatus is needed. Each is fitted with its own individual parachute. The device is so efficient that a breeze will carry the seeds high into the sky. In such a dense crowd of adult plants as this, there's no room for the next generation. The seeds must get away, and the wind will take them for miles.
That's why the dandelions have to move, because they can't grow there anymore. There's too many of them. It's an intense wind at the time.
Yes, it is.
Okay, wait again. Alright, so someone has to raise your hand and tell me then, what would be that example? Is that agent or mechanical dispersal? Alright, Hayden.
Agent.
That is agent. So that's the example of using agent for it. Alright, so let's see this next one and see what this will be an example of agent or mechanical.
Violet flower seeds are crammed into a special pod. As the pod dries out, the pressure is intense. Eventually, something's got to give. touch-me-nots are even more highly sprung. The slightest contact triggers a chain reaction. Seeds light up the sky like a fireworks display. Another dramatic display comes from this unassuming looking plant, the squirting cucumber. It only takes a tiny vibration, and the cucumber starts a spectacular show. Seeds disappear into the distance like rockets. Spreading new plants in every direction.
Just wait. Alright, so it's just showing you for that one and for this one, how this plant basically, these types can just explode and spread their seeds. So raise your hand and tell me what type of dispersal is that then. Lynn, that's mechanical. So think of, okay, if it's using something, that has to be aided, but if it's doing it by itself, then it's mechanical. Alright, people questions
So
on it?
the last one's aided, this one's yeah.
Alright, we'll look at this one. I think we have time to finish it. I'm gonna have to watch the rest of them on Monday.
Some plants send their seeds by sea, some by air, but most, in fact, use living couriers. Animals with hairy coats are easily conscripted. The burdock uses hooks, hundreds of them. And very effective they are. Eventually the birds are licked off, picked off, or shaken off. And if the burdock is lucky, that will happen some distance from where the adult plant grew. Trousers will serve just as well as hairy coats, and shoes as hooves or paws. Here in Southern Africa, there's a creeper that uses not hooks but spikes, waiting for you to tread on them. These things are called by the local people devil thorns, and you can quite see why. If you trod on that with your naked foot, whether you're human or animal, it must be very painful indeed. But if you think that's bad, what about this?
Read a little dramatic, but yes.
This is the seed case of the gravel plant.
I guess we'll finish it on Monday. Alright, for your homework, read pages 41 through 42. 41 through 42. Answer page 45. The section review 2.3, questions 1 through 3, and on page 39, question 5. So, read, I will read pages 41 through 42, answer page 45, the section review 2.3, questions 1 through 3, and then answer page 39, question 5. Alright, have a good day.
39.
39.